So my name is Pablo Campos. I am a first-gen college student, alum of NC State, of the TRIO programs, and I'm current staff as well in the counseling center here at NC State. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker, licensed clinical addiction specialist, having graduated from NC State in 2019 with my master's in social work. I transferred as a non-traditional student actually from Pensacola State College in Pensacola, Florida. I'm a DC native, first gen in the US as well. My family's from Guatemala and El Salvador, so Central America. And had a pretty tough time in high school with kind of some mental health related challenges that led to me becoming a non-traditional student, which for me meant not going to college directly after graduating high school. And so it took me a while. I worked in different industries and bounced around a little bit before finally kind of settling down and stabilizing in some ways to be able to get my associate's degree at Pensacola State College. It was then that I first learned that I was a first-gen student, because I think that's one of the biggest things was even understanding what that meant or what it was, and the fact that because my parents, neither of them went to college, that made me a first-gen student. So I navigated some of the resources on my own, and so I was taught that by one of my professors and encouraged to apply for the TRIO program, the TRIO Student Support Services specifically at the institution that I was at. And so that helped me understand a lot more about what it meant to be a first-gen student, and the fact, and getting a better understanding of the fact that I wasn't aware of a lot of resources. I was doing a lot of things for the first time, whether that was FAFSA or enrolling for classes or understanding some of the kind of jargon on campus. And so one of the kind of first topics I wanted to talk about was, what is one piece of advice I received that changed my perspective about what it means to be a first-gen student. In getting that explained to me, of the fact that neither of my parents went, so I was kind of doing it for the first time, and kind of understanding that, I recognized that there's a lot of resources on college campuses, and I was encouraged to try to utilize as many of them as possible to kind of get over the ego side of things in some ways, which is I tried to which was a humbling experience for sure, because I wanted to hustle and tough it out, especially with my parents having come to the U.S. as part of the American dream to pursue a better life for all of us, and there's that kind of hustle and grind mentality. And so I think for me, kind of being told like, look, it's challenging, it's very difficult, so use these resources, connect with TRIO, apply for scholarships, check in with your professors. That was one of the big things that eventually evolved, was me communicating much more with my professors, being open with them, asking for help, which is hard, especially as a male identified, from the Latin culture, within Latin culture as well, to ask for help and to use resources. So, I think that's a really key point, was understanding what it meant to be first gen, and the fact that a lot of the resources that are on campus are designed for folks, to better interact with it. And then for me, as a non-traditional student as well, I was fortunate to be a little bit older, and I had a partner who was not a first-gen student, so she helped me quite a bit and encouraged me to kind of get the most out of my college experience as well. So once I got my associate's degree from Pensacola, Florida, Pensacola State College, I then transferred to NC State, and I knew that there was a TRIO program here, so that was one of the first actually stops, in getting to know the campus, was to go to the TRIO office, get connected here, kind of apply for it, and get involved in programming through them. And that was really, really helpful, especially with NC State being such a vast, college or campus, university with so many different resources. Having a kind of touch point to be able to, manage and navigate resources was really helpful. And so that, I think, was really important for me. As far as my path, career and all of that, I knew that I wanted to work in mental health counseling, and I needed to kind of find my path to getting there. I think giving back to the community and helping other folks in need was really important. And so part of my first gen student journey within that was recognizing resources and the fact that within many communities, mental health is stigmatized and not necessarily an approachable topic. And so within first gen communities, it's even more so, right? Because of varying cultures, socioeconomic status, different factors that contribute to us being first gen. And so I knew I wanted to be, somebody that could provide those services to those communities and to help further shift the culture and the stigma around help seeking around mental health, mental illness, and some of those struggles. And so, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. But overall, I remember also kind of wanting to kind of just fit in some ways too, and not just be like this first gen student. So I think for me, that took a lot of kind of self-work, and in a way that I think is ongoing as far as that kind of like self-reflection, self-exploration. But I do remember, as a first gen student, going to my first like sporting event on campus, or my first like event, just in general, like all of those experiences for the first time. It kind of made me feel more and more connected, and I remember it being really, really hard at first. But as I started to go to more, I went to some of the trio events. Then I, found people to go to like a sporting event with, and then how to navigate different like things on campus, being also a non-traditional student, at the same time not living on campus, not being connected, being older than a lot of my classmates. And so, but each time that I challenged myself and was able to push it beyond my comfort zone, I was able to feel more and more connected. And then that really shifted for me as far as my student identity, and has also kind of, got me excited about wanting to give back as well now. And so hopefully in sharing some of my story, that's part of this as well. And as a first gen and alumni staff now, being able to kind of connect other first gen staff and share our stories to support students kind of in an ongoing way. So hopefully that was a little bit helpful. Again, my name is Pablo Campos. I'm a first gen alumni of the TRIO Student Support Services program, alumni of College of Humanities and Social Sciences, in the Master of Social Work and the Bachelor's of Social Work programs, and currently an employee at the Counseling Center here at NC State.